Morning, everyone. It's a great day. Ask all visitors and guests to please retire behind the rail. If the members will take their seats, we'll get started. Thank you. Today, to give our invocation, we have our own spiritual advisor, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Dr. Martin Luther King said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times and moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." During Black History Month, we are reminded that there are people that our country still doesn't fully recognize all citizens. It means that we have not arrived. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless us here. We ask that you help us to realize and recommit ourselves to the challenge of public service. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless those who are hungry, those who are ill in nursing homes, hospitals, and boarding homes, those who are incarcerated, those who need jobs. We ask that you bless them, especially during this time, and we who commit ourselves to improve the quality of life for all. These blessings we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Yeah, you're looking for the council at ease, but I think. You better be careful, Councilwoman. You might get invited to do the President's Prayer Breakfast. You say, come on with it, right? All right. Thank you again, Councilwoman. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting on Thursday, February 5th, 2015, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, February 5th, 2015 be approved.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the journal be approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is request for leaves of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman, and chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there's no request for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to come down and witness their government in action. We hope that your stay here is both a pleasurable one and one that you gain significant knowledge as to the intricacies of our legislative body. So I want to really thank you for coming down, and I hope you come again. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones, who will present a resolution on my behalf to Siobhan Reardon. Would Ms. Reardon and those accompanying her please come up to the podium? Good morning. Good morning, how you doing? And joining Councilman Jones, we have Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
On your behalf, Mr. President, this isn't bad for a New Yorker to get this kind of recognition, but I will have to say, Mr. President, that I happen to have the largest number of free libraries of any other council person: Haddington, Roxborough, Haverford, East Falls, Overbrook Park, Winfield, and Andorra in the 4th District. So I just want to share her with you.
Councilman, but we have the largest.
Yes, that
in
is
the 5th District. All right. In the 5th District.
Hey, Ray. He's right. I'd like to present, and I'm very proud of the fact that she's received this award. I remember her first year here and us asking about the closing of the libraries, and she took it on the chin and worked with us in spite of the budget to make our library system one of the best in the entire nation. So there are a lot of library advocates in council. So, would you? Oh, yes, I would like to have one of those advocates add their opinion.
I thank the Majority Leader for allowing me to add my 2 cents. What I was struck most about our honoree this morning is that she listened carefully to members' concerns around the composition of her board. And the following year indicated to us in a tangible way that strategies were underway to make sure that her board looks more like Philadelphia. And that matters to us on this side of the ledger when we see department heads hear what our concerns are, respond to what our legitimate observations are, and then ultimately makes a tangible difference in fixing that particular situation. So for that, we thank you, honoree. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Mr. President. So we are here to honor and recognize and congratulate Ms. Sherborne Reardon on being named the 2015 Librarian of the Year by the Library Journal. Whereas, come on, yes, right. Whereas Ms. Reardon was named the 2015 Librarian of the Year by the Library Journal, as well as respected journals for the library community that have been in publication for over 100 years. Whereas she was appointed President and Director of the Free Library System in Philadelphia 2008, and is the first woman to serve in that capacity. During that time of economic downturn, Ms. Reardon was forced to take a 20% budget cut and drastically reduce branch hours. And
whereas through the midst of budget cuts, Ms. Reardon streamlined and enhanced neighborhood library services, shared resources and a staff of 800 among neighborhood libraries, and collaborated with community leaders to develop programs and services most needed by Philadelphia residents. These efforts improved efficiencies, eternal communications, and patron experience. And whereas using a cluster model, every neighborhood now has expert librarians on core focus areas such as health information, family literacy, services for new Americans, small businesses and entrepreneurs, job seekers, and people with disabilities. And whereas Ms. Reardon has led the library's efforts to move beyond its walls by creating computer and internet hotspots that offer free technology access and training in partnership with local organizations in underserved neighborhoods. In a city with more than 40% of the population lacks an internet connection at the home. In a city where more than 40% of our Philadelphia residents still lack internet connection at home. Reardon's efforts helped bridge the city's digital divide. The Free Library of Philadelphia now boasts 7 hotspots, 54 physical buildings, and the University of Pennsylvania facility. And
whereas Ms. Reardon has improved fundraising efforts on behalf of the Free Library during its campaign to raise money for renovations to the Central Branch. By focusing on phased improvements to both the Central Branch and the neighborhood libraries, she revamped the approach and decided to do the project on a piecemeal basis, making substantial improvements. This process helped engage a number of important foundations in the city that were willing to provide the necessary funding. And whereas previously, Mrs. Reardon was Executive Director of the Westchester, New York Library System, a 38-member cooperative library system. Prior to that, she was the Deputy Executive Director of the Brooklyn Public Library, serving as Chief Operating Officer of the nation's 5th largest library system. She also served as Acting Executive Director and Director of Finance responsible for the library's $85 million annual budget. And I'd just like to add, I really felt her pain when she thought we might be selling libraries, and I could see it, but I knew she was, did not like that, but we're glad we prevailed in not having to do that.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia hereby honor, recognize, and congratulate Siobhan A. Reardon for being named the 2015 Librarian of the Year by the Library Journal. Be it further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Reardon as evidence of our sincere sentiment of this entire legislative body, introduced by President Clarke, Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Tasco, and Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Reardon for remarks.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored to be recognized in this way by this wonderful city council. And it is because, as I've often said, it's not just about me, it's about an entire city that gets behind a library system that's so desperately needed by its constituents. And so on behalf of the Free Library of Philadelphia, my boards, the staff, and the city and its constituents, thank you very much for this recognition. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Council will be at ease. Thank you. Before we go on to our next presentation, I'd like to recognize one of our newest members of the Pennsylvania General Assembly and a veteran of the City Council staff, Jason Dawkins. Representative, how are you? Thank you for coming down today. This time, the chair recognizes Councilman O, who will present a resolution recognizing the 10th anniversary of Philadelphia Fashion Week. With Kevin Parker, Carrie Scott, and those accompanying them, please join the councilman at the podium. And joining Councilman O, we have Councilman Jones. Okay.
They're coming. They're
Okay.
coming.
Right?
Rough work.
Let me stop.
This is rough. All right. Yeah, this is rough work. Thank you for putting me in this resolution. That's funny. Yes. Yes. Congratulations. Congratulations. While we're assembling, let me just say that, one of the hallmarks of a great city, an urban city especially, a metropolitan city, is fashion. Looking at me, you could tell that I don't care much about fashion, but it is a very important part of any big city's economy. Makes a statement, certainly is cosmopolitan, and one of the things we've really been concerned about is our retail industry, especially in our affluent areas, and I say that because we need the money. We need visitors, we need people to spend money, so that we can support our city. But more than that, the fashion industry is part of the creative economy, and that means jobs. And one of the things about it is it provides jobs for creative, innovative people, many from our neighborhoods, and the folks that we are recognized today really exemplifies that. And so they have been doing this work on their own, and I was fortunate to come across them, and it is their 10th anniversary. They've been doing this work for 10 years, and I think it is very important that we elevate them, recognize them, and support them. And so today we have a resolution recognizing and celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Philadelphia Fashion Week for its important enrichment to the city's fashion community and creative, innovative economy. Whereas Kevin Parker and Carrie Scott produced and founded the first Philadelphia Fashion Week, PFW, in 2006, with the vision to provide exposure for local models, designers, and other industry-related professionals. And
whereas Parker and Scott currently serve on the advisory board for the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator in Macy's Center City and are involved in the Philadelphia Collection, which is a city initiative to support retail in Philadelphia. And whereas PFW is a nationally recognized and nationally respected event that provides a major platform for designers to succeed and showcase their work.
Whereas PFW invites buyers and industry insiders who not only support the designers who create revenues for local businesses, and whereas PFW has landed the producers many opportunities for international publications such as Harper's Bazaar, Vietnam features on the Vietnam Style Network, Vietnam's Next Top Model, Fashion is Black magazine, Paris cover, and inside spread with international supermodel Cecily Lopez, Tamendel, Paris magazine, Runway magazine, and a number of others, all while providing exposure for our local talent here in Philadelphia and featuring their works. And
whereas PFW has been featured on several television programs and major press outlets, including WWD, Harper's Bazaar, O Magazine, Better Philly, Eye Opener, VH1, Bravo, PHL 17, Fox 29, 6ABC, NBC 10, The Epic Times, The Daily News, The Philadelphia Inquirer, and others. And whereas in honor of its 10th anniversary, which will be celebrated in February and September, PFW prepares to produce an eventful week Philadelphia has never experienced before. featuring national and international designers and models presenting garments, exhibits of luxury products and services, and world-class entertainment. Now, therefore, be it
I'm going to have to subscribe to O Magazine. Be it resolved by the council of this city, City of Philadelphia, that it hereby recognizes and celebrates the 10th anniversary of Philadelphia Fashion Week for its important enrichment to the city's fashion community and the creative, innovative economy, and resolve further that engrossed copies of this resolution be presented to Kevin Parker and Kerry Scott, further evidencing the sincere admiration and respect of this legislative body.
Thank you. And the chair recognizes Mr. Parker and Mr. Scott for remarks.
Thank you, distinguished council, Mr. President. Special thanks to Councilman David O. Thank you, God. We thank you guys for recognizing Philadelphia Fashion Week in our 10-year celebration. We're really, really excited about it, and hope to see you guys there.
I want to take this time to thank everybody who supported us throughout the years. We want to thank all of the amazing designers that work with us and that trust us with their brands. We want to thank the City of Philadelphia for supporting us. We want to thank all of you. We appreciate it, and this means the world to me. If you guys only knew how I felt right now, this really, for me to be 29 years old, this is amazing. And just thank you so much, and thank God for what you've done in our lives.
All right. Council, be at ease. Thank you. That's right. Thank you all very much. Thank you. If I can have your attention. Thank you. Thank you so much. The next order of business is communications, and the chair requested the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, will you please read those messages?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on February 11, 2015, I signed the following bills, which were passed by Council at its session on January 29, 2015. Bill number 140831A and Bill number 140892A. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1227 North Lithgow Street. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1925 West Wilt Street. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Belmont Number 2 urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 4050 through 66 Haverford Avenue. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 509 Wolf Street. And an ordinance amending Section 2 of an ordinance, Bill number 120903, approved January 14, 2013, authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 156 by striking from the City Plan 4th Street from Allegheny Avenue to Lippincott Street, by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. The next order of business will be the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell. It will.
Thank you. I have no bills or resolutions anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Sir.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one bill on your behalf, 3 resolutions, 2 on your behalf, and 1 co-sponsored by Councilwoman Sanchez.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing Guy Ginhart for 1700 Chestnut Street to construct, own, and maintain an exterior stairs at 1700 through 14 Chestnut Street.
That bill will be referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution honoring the Philadelphia 76ers La Liga del Barrio on its 15th anniversary.
And that resolution will be on today's final passes calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Model City's urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1227 North Lithgow Street.
Next week's final passes calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 18th, 28th, and 37th wards of the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's final passes calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Mr. President, I offer one bill and signed by all members of council and a privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
No. All members of council and one
Thanks,
bill.
Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 10600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Individual Conduct and Activity to modify certain exceptions from subsection 10602 subparagraph 3 entitled Smoking Prohibited and from section 10614 entitled Electronic Smoking Devices.
That bill will be referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution honoring Teenship Inc., a founder Eleanor Jean Henley, on its 30th anniversary.
This week's final passes calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I have 3 resolutions and 2 bills. One of my resolutions is for naming the 2200 block of Winton Street after Wild Bill Guarneri, co-sponsored by Councilman David O., who led the charge, and all members of council.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome, Council President.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by creating an overlay district entitled WWA West Washington Avenue Overlay to include certain areas of land within the vicinity of West Washington Avenue.
That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance authorizing Lisa Lombardo to construct, own, and maintain an exterior metal staircase encroachment at 2400 South Woodstock Street.
Referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia City Council Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings regarding ending of child hunger in the city of Philadelphia.
This week's final passes calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring, recognizing, and commending the Prince Hall Shrine for embracing all of the basic fundamental concepts of the Masonic Order and for giving back to the Philadelphia community.
This week's final passes calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming the 2200 block of Winton Street between the intersections of Snyder Avenue and Jackson Street as Wild Bill Way in recognition of Bill Guarneri's pure dedication to fellow man, love for the city of Philadelphia, and his heroism and willingness to sacrifice all for his country.
And that will be on next week's final passes calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Quin Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 bills, one co-sponsored by my colleagues Johnson, Jones, and Goode.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 18200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Airports by requiring providers of ground handling services at city airport facilities to obtain a license from the city before providing ground handling services and providing for possible license revocation.
And that bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 2 of an ordinance, Bill Number 120903, approved January 14, 2013, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grids on a portion of City Plan Number 156 by striking from the City Plan 4th Street from Allegheny Avenue to Lippincott Street by extending the period of compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on the 5800 block of Cottage Street between Harbison Avenue and Van Kirk Street on both sides of the street.
And that will be referred to the appropriate committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one privileged resolution co-sponsored by Councilman Jones, Squilla, Tasco, and signed by the other members of council.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and congratulating Philadelphia University's Herb McGee on earning his 1,000th career win in college basketball and for his years of dedication and service to Philadelphia University's college basketball team.
And that will be on today's final passes calendar, and the chair recognizes Councilman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Goode.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. I'll offer one resolution co-sponsored by Council Members Tasco, Jones, and Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution celebrating the 2015 United Way's Women's Initiative by recognizing Reverend Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake.
That will be on this week's final passes calendar, and the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one bill, 2 privileged resolutions co-sponsored by, one by David O., Rondell Reynolds Brown, and Councilman Squilla. The other by Councilman Goode, Bass, Reynolds Brown, Tasco, and myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section 9703 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Special Assembly Occupancies to add additional requirements relating to surveillance cameras.
That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Safety to conduct hearings to explore new methods to increase video surveillance cameras throughout the city that satisfy the guidelines of the Philadelphia Police Department Safety Cam program, such as a tax abatement to offset the cost for camera installation and mandatory camera installation for nuisance businesses, among other initiatives.
And that will be on this week's final passes calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the legacy of Dr. George J. Bichel for his bravery as a prisoner of war, his work at St. Joseph's University as a professor and chair of the chemistry department, and for his significant contributions to the Philadelphia German-American community.
And that will also be on this week's final passes calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two resolutions, one co-sponsored by Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution congratulating and recognizing Jeff Kilpatrick and the students from the Memphis Street Academy's Entrepreneurs program and winning a SEED Supporting Entrepreneurship in Education 4.0 grant, which is presented by Philly Core Leaders, a group of education leaders that collaborates to come up with better education ideas in the city.
That will be in this week's final passes calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 509 Wolf Street.
And that will be on next week's final passes calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one bill and one resolution, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Blondo, Reynolds Brown, and Councilman Ed Nielsen.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Landlord and Tenant Rent Control by requiring that tenants of certain multifamily buildings be provided with a written disclosure of the building policy on smoking in individual dwelling units.
That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a privileged resolution recognizing the Northwest Victim Services for hosting the first one-step 5K walk for safer neighborhoods.
That will be on this week's final passes calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I offer three privilege resolutions, one co-sponsored by Maria Quirino-Sanchez, and all three by Councilman Cindy Bass, and two by Councilman Mark Squilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and celebrating the 30th anniversary of Asian Americans United for its important enrichment to Philadelphia's Asian American community.
That will be on this week's final passes calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative Innovative Economy to hold public hearings regarding the state of the music industry in Philadelphia.
This week's final passes calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative Innovative Economy to hold public hearings on Philadelphia's movement towards a smart city.
And that will also be in this week's final passes calendar. And that concludes our introductions of bills and resolutions. And we will now have reports from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a report from the Committee of Streets and Services.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome.
I move that the rules of council be suspended. Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee Streets and Services reports 6 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Streets and Services, which is referred Bill number 140902, entitled An Ordinance, authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan numbers 224 and 232 by striking from the City Plan and vacating Cayuga Street from Whitaker Avenue to its terminus eastwardly therefrom. And Bill number 140903, entitled An Ordinance amending Title 10, entitled Regulation of Individual Conduct and Activity of the Philadelphia Code by adding rules regarding use of dumpsters. And Bill number 140971, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Children's Hospital of Philadelphia to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 2716 South Street. And Bill number 150003, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Trustees of the University of Pennsylvania to construct, own, and maintain a temporary pedestrian bridge right-of-way encroachment within the public right-of-way at 3400 Civic Center Boulevard and 1 Convention Avenue. And Bill number 150053, entitled An Ordinance Legalizing an Existing Retaining Wall Encroaching on the public right-of-way at 1806 Emerson Street. And Bill number 150054, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Thomas Jefferson University to construct, own, and maintain lighted bollard right-of-way encroachments within the public right-of-way at 1008 Locust Street. Respectfully reports that it's considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the first reading this day, the 6 bills that were just read into the record.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 140902, 140903, 150971, 150003, 150053, and 150054. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Tasco for a report from the Committee on Public Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Public Health and Human Services reports 4 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
The Committee on Public Health and Human Services, which is referred Bill number 140517, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 10602 of the Philadelphia Code, known as the Clean Indoor Air Worker Protection Law, by providing for a limited period of time during which certain private clubs may apply for and obtain a waiver of the provisions of the section. And Bill number 140635, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 10602 of the Philadelphia Code, known as the Clean Indoor Air Worker Protection Law, by providing a limited period of time during which certain drinking establishments may apply for and obtain a waiver of the provisions of the section. And Bill number 140649, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 10602 of the Philadelphia Code, by providing a limited period of time during which certain drinking establishments may apply for and obtain a waiver of the provisions of the section. And Bill number 140886, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 10602 of the Philadelphia Code, by providing a limited period of time during which certain drinking establishments may apply for and obtain a waiver of the provisions of the section, prohibiting smoking in certain places. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 140517, 140635, 140649, and 140886.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 140517, 140635, 140649, and 140886. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our reports from the committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I have to leave and be excused for the rest of the session, but I want to go on the record as reporting aye on all bills and resolutions. But before I exit, I do want to take this chance to be one of many to congratulate Councilman Greenlee on his dog persistence on earned sick pay, on sick leave. Council President, Councilman Greenlee is a humble man, and he doesn't grandstand on anything like this, all right? But we all know that this issue has evolved nationally, and it's right here in the city of Philadelphia. Sick leave is a rooted fundamental fairness. Fairness for our workplace, fairness for the customer, and fairness for the public at large, and fairness for each other, recognizing at this time that it's earned. It's not just given. All right, and in fairness to Councilman Greenlee and to all the stakeholders, all right, that he has heard, and it's a witness to the amendments that he put into his original bill. All right, so I just want to congratulate him in this momentum and historic day. I think he probably brought the DNC right here to the city of Philadelphia. So I want to thank you. Congratulations, congratulations, city of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Heenan. I'm sure that it will be on the platform of the DNC as we move ahead. Thank you, and leave shall be granted. Your report is voting aye on all bills and resolutions, am I correct? Yeah. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, we will now have consideration of the calendar. And the next order of business, I note that the bills just reported from committee with suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. They will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar today, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from second reading and final passage calendar today. Numbers 150022, 150081, 150083, 150087, 150010, and 141026. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you. Before considering the bills and resolutions on our final passage calendar today, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you are interested today in testifying on a bill or resolution that is on the final passage calendar, if you haven't already done so, I'd ask that you sign up to the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device on that podium. There's a light. When the light turns green, it is your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. And when the light turns red, we'd ask that you adhere to the guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Thank you very much for your compliance with those guidelines. Mr. Decker, please call the name of the first individual on the list.
Mark Edwards. Commenting on 150010.
Good morning.
Good morning, Council President. I'm Mark Edwards, President and CEO of Philadelphia Works, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today to testify in support of Bill number 150010, this legislation that requires economic opportunity plans to include a statement acknowledging the receipt of first source requirements for contracts that are expected to exceed $250,000. We thank Councilman Goode for including this amendment and the legislation and his leadership on this bill, or this legislation. As the Workforce Investment Board for the City of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Works invests in employment and training solutions that connect employers to a workforce and talent and career seekers to jobs while ensuring the highest standards and accountability for these investments. In this role that we play, we have been in continued support and commitment to the success of the city's first source job policy. As we support the work of the city's Commerce Department and the city's implementation of this jobs creation policy, we conducted a comprehensive review of first source policies throughout the country by reaching out to 8 other cities with similar types of legislation. Many of these cities have had first source legislation for quite some time, and as a result, we sought their input on ways that we could learn from the lessons that they would be willing to share. During our conversations, a common theme arose. Unless we could implement an effective mechanism by which we could, 1, ensure that eligible projects are being captured, and 2, an effective coordination between all parties involved, a first source policy cannot reach its fullest potential. So based on our conversations, this legislation is simply common sense reform that offers an opportunity to interact with every qualifying contractor. The benefits from this are simply twofold. Not only are contractors more likely to become aware of the first source requirements and more likely to adhere, but secondly, through broader coordination of all of the parties involved, we can ensure that adherence occurs in accordance with the intent of the policy. As we have spoken with Baltimore, for example, they had one staffer who was responsible for pulling together all city contracts. It took him a full day to do so. With this legislation, connecting it to the OEO plans, we can incorporate this process into the city's system without going through similar efforts ourselves.
Thank you.
Given the technology and interagency coordination that has occurred to date, this is an opportunity for us here in Philadelphia to make improvements informed by other places around the country and exhibit leadership in this area. Thank you very much.
Reverend Gregory Holston, commenting on 141026.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, Councilman Clarke, and all city council members. Again, we also congratulate Councilman Greenlee for the consistency of the effort in moving this bill forward. My name is Reverend Gregory Holston. I am the senior pastor of New Vision United Methodist Church at Broad and Westmoreland Streets, and I'm also the co-chair of Power Philadelphia, organized to witness, empower, and rebuild, co-chair of their economic dignity team, representing 40 houses of faith, over 30,000 individuals in the city of Philadelphia. We stand in support of this bill for earned paid sick leave, and we do it with joy today. I pastor in North Philadelphia, where the poverty rate around my church is roughly 40%, and a deep poverty rate of around 25%. Deep poverty is defined as less than $5,500 per year for an individual. Out of the many favorable statistics that support earned paid sick leave, the one that touched me the most was the statistics that 3.5 paid sick leave days equals one month's groceries. Just think about that. If I'm sick, then I got to choose between making a determination to pay for my groceries and go to work, and go to work sick. And so these kinds of choices are being made every day by individuals, young family members, choosing to go to work with a sick child at home, or not having groceries for that sick child. That is simply morally reprehensible. So this bill is clearly a public health bill, but it's certainly more than that. It's a anti-poverty bill because it puts more money in the hands of poor people. It's an economic stimulus bill because it stimulates the economy in the poorest neighborhoods of our city. It's a pro-employment bill because it builds the businesses in our neighborhoods where the people shop and give their money to. It's a pro-education bill because so many children go to school hungry every day, and because of this bill, their parents can have more dollars in their pocket. It is also an anti-hunger bill because 40% of our children go to bed hungry every day. It is a pro-Philadelphia bill because it makes Philadelphia a better place to live, a better place to work, a better place to eat, and a better place to play. My faith informs my politics and my public policy, and my faith says we are called to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and visit them in prison, and minister to them that are sick. He says if we do this to the least of our brothers and sisters, today this bill does exactly that. Thank you so much.
Marvin Robinson. Commenting on 141026.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to bring honor to God for this day. To the President, Darrell Clarke, to Greenlee, we really appreciate your effort to make this bill come forward. And to the rest of the city councils, those that are going to vote on this bill, we appreciate your leadership for us, we the people. That's all I really have to say. It's been a nice battle, and I know how the democracy works. It just don't work overnight. But we the people really stood for what was right for all the people of Philadelphia. So thank you.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Is there anyone else here signed up to provide public comment on today's agenda? Seeing none, that concludes. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, that concludes today's public comment period. We will now consider the resolutions and bills on second reading and final passage calendars. The clerk will please read the titles of the resolutions.
Resolution number 150022, entitled a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania State Legislature to make achieving clean water a greater priority in the year 2015 by increasing state investments to be made by the General Assembly and the Governor with dedicated, sustainable, and long-term funding sources, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson for a motion on the resolution.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Has it been seconded? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion passed.
And resolution number 150081, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title, to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 32nd and 29th wards of the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Greenlee on behalf of Council President Clarke.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
And resolution number 150083, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee, simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 19th and 37th wards of the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Sanchez.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it.
And resolution number 150087, entitled a resolution authorizing the Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network in partnership with City Council and the Veterans Advisory Commission to conduct a comprehensive study on veteran employment in the city of Philadelphia and its impact on the local economy, introduced by Councilman O.
Before we recognize Councilman O, I'd like to recognize Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go on the record of voting in favor of all the bills and resolutions today. Unfortunately, I had something just come up and I have to leave the floor. I'd also like to congratulate the Councilman Greenlee on his paid sick leave bill today, something that's going to help many working families throughout the city of Philadelphia. Congratulate Action United, and especially Marvin, who's been by my office about 100 times. I think Marvin has a desk at my office. He's been there so long, and you've done a wonderful, wonderful job, and you need to be applauded on that. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Where am I at? Okay. Did you? Thank you. Mr. Decker, I understand you read the title of 150087?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right, and the chair recognizes Councilman O for a motion.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it, and resolution 150087 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title 150010.
An ordinance amending Chapter 1600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Economic Opportunity Plans, to require that certain economic opportunity plans incorporate the requirements of the First Source Jobs policy contained in Chapter 17-2000 of the Philadelphia Code.
I'm sorry. Mr. Decker, this bill has been read on two separate occasions. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Goode. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan is voting aye. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman Nielsen is voting aye. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clarke.
Aye, the ayes are 16, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 141026.
An ordinance enacting a new Chapter 9-4100 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Promoting Healthy Families and Workplaces to provide that certain employees are entitled to paid and unpaid leave, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Before calling for the vote, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Not on this, I'm just for the,
Oh,
for the end.
something else?
Yeah,
All right.
later, at the
Okay.
end.
Chair recognizes Councilman Councilman Greenlee.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to be real brief. I think there has been a whole lot of comments made on paid sick leave over these past years. But the one thing we've heard many times is, even from those who had doubts in the beginning, earned paid sick leave is the right thing to do. Mr. President, let's finally do it. Thank you, sir.
It was very short and sweet, sir. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also will be very brief. I'd like to offer my congratulations to our colleague, Councilman Greenlee, and with the permission of the President and the consent of my colleagues in council, I'd like to submit my remarks for the record.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes the comments. This bill has been read on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Goode. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan is voting aye. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman Nielsen is voting aye. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Goode and Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clarke.
Aye, the ayes are 14, nays are 4. Okay, just want to make it long. The ayes are 14, the nays are 2. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative. The bill passes. Thank you. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution honoring the Philadelphia 76ers.
Hold on a second, Mr. Decker. Folks, if you're leaving, could we ask that you leave quietly? We still have some additional legislation. Thank you.
A resolution.
All right, you're welcome.
A resolution honoring the Philadelphia 76ers, La Liga del Barrio, on its 15th anniversary, introduced by Councilman Greenlee.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Together with Councilwoman Sanchez, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring Teenship, Inc. and founder Eleanor Jean Hendley on its 30th anniversary, introduced by Councilwoman Tasco.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia City Council Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings regarding ending child hunger in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring, recognizing, and commending the Prince Hall Shrindom for embracing all of the basic fundamental concepts of the Masonic Order and for giving back to the Philadelphia community, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and congratulating Philadelphia University's Urban McGee on earning his 1,000th career win in college basketball and for his years of dedication and service to Philadelphia University's college basketball team. Introduced by Councilman Nielsen, Councilman Jones, Councilman Squilla, and Councilwoman Tasco.
Councilman Jones, did you want to be recognized?
On behalf, I think Councilman Nielsen.
Oh, Councilman Nielsen left. Okay.
Yeah. On his behalf, I move for the adoption.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and it is adopted.
And a resolution celebrating the 2015 United Way's Women's Initiative by recognizing Reverend Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Safety to conduct hearings to explore new methods to increase video surveillance cameras throughout the city that satisfy the guidelines of the Philadelphia Police Department Safety Cam program, such as a tax abatement to offset the cost for camera installation and mandatory camera installation for nuisance businesses, among other initiatives, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the legacy of Dr. George J. Bischel for his bravery as a prisoner of war, his work at St. Joseph's University as a professor and chair of the chemistry department, and for his significant contribution to the Philadelphia German-American community, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution congratulating and recognizing Jeff Kilpatrick and the students from the Memphis Street Academy's Entrepreneurs Program on winning the Seed Supporting Entrepreneurship and Education 4.0 grant, which is presented by Philly Core Leaders, a group of education leaders that collaborates to come up with better education ideas in the city, introduced by Councilman Squilla.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second. Been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the Northwest Victim Services for hosting the first one-step 5K walk for safer neighborhoods, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and celebrating the 30th anniversary of Asian Americans United for its important enrichment to Philadelphia's Asian American community, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. Move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative Innovative Economy to hold public hearings regarding the state of the music industry in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you again. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
May a second. Thank you. Been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Global Opportunities and the Creative Innovative Economy to hold public hearings on Philadelphia's movement towards a smart city, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. I move for adoption of the resolution. Second. All right, thank you. Thank you.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Before we go to our speeches on behalf of the majority and the minority, I would like to recognize Derek Green. As you all know, Derek has been working with us for quite some time. He's been consistent and hard worker, and has been a part of the City Council team in various capacities. But tomorrow is Derek's last day. He is hopefully moving on to different things. Well, he will be moving on to different things. What that ends up being, we'll still see. But I just wanted to recognize Derek and thank you for your significant years of service here. Thank you, Derek, and good luck. We now will move to speeches on behalf of the minority, and the chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to congratulate Councilman Bill Greenlee, although I see it differently. That is democracy. Iron sharpens iron. But he is an intelligent, thoughtful person. And one of the things that I have learned during my time in this council body, that he is a very persistent, even-handed, committed person. And while I may be on the other side of this issue, I certainly respect and admire his tenacity, his perseverance, and his goodwill and good-mindedness. And this is clearly his day, well-deserved, and I would just want to congratulate him on his victory.
Thank you. And speeches on the part of the majority, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I couldn't get past the minority, but I wanted to also thank my colleague, Councilman Greenlee, for his tenacity in moving this bill forward. He spent a lot of time on it, and I think it's a worthwhile, and I really appreciate serving with him in City Council and congratulate him on this victory today. I also want to say that I will definitely miss Derek Green. He came to us when we were working on the predatory lending bill back in the early 2000s and was a part of a committee that drafted legislation that we passed in the city of in Philadelphia. But then I saw he was really good on issues, and we hired him, and so he's been with us, and we wish him well in his endeavors as he tries to become a member of this body next year. And also, I want to just say congratulations to the city, to you, Mr. President, for being so supportive in our council on encouraging the Democratic National Committee to come to Philadelphia in 2016. It's a great victory for us. And I'm just very excited that we are going to be able to show that Philadelphia is the great city that it is. And as a member of the board of the Convention Center, it's a great feather in our cap that they will be here. And thank you so much for your leadership. And all the members of City Council, we thank you for your support in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And again, thank you for your great work and your leadership on working with the DNC and the letter that the origin from this particular body that kind of stimulated other individuals to get engaged in a very meaningful way. I want to commend you for taking the lead on that and your great work. And
thank you.
It is proven to be a very successful attempt. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee again.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real fast. First, I certainly join in wishing Derek Green well. I have to add, though, I hope he doesn't put any of us out of a job. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Not to be presumptuous, I wasn't trying to be presumptuous before, but I now want to officially thank everybody for their support, you and the whole all City Council for the support of earned paid sick leave. I know I have been a pain in the neck in this whole thing, but I think we did the right thing today, and I think it's something we're joining the many cities and states around that are providing this reasonable service to people. And I just wanted to add, I know there's something else coming up before this, but at 2 o'clock today in the mayor's reception room, the mayor will be signing the bill into law. So please, everybody that can make it, please come join us. I think we have the right to celebrate this one. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Great work. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I join members in congratulating Councilman Bill Greenlee on the passage of the sick leave bill. And some of us use the word tenacity. I would use the word stick-to-itiveness. My mom uses the word gumption. He showed a lot of gumption in making this measure happen. I now turn our attention to express my concern about an issue that has been brought to my attention that I also believe deserves our attention. Unite Here, Local 634, represents approximately 2,000 people who prepare food, serve food, and watch over children in our Philadelphia public schools. 96% of the members live in Philadelphia. The overwhelming majority of them are women. Unlike any other group working directly for the school district, 96% live in the city, and the majority of them are women. What's the bad news? Almost 75% of the cafeteria workers and student safety staff earn less than $12,000 per year. The majority are earning, $12,000 per year. The majority are earning $10.88 per hour. The bad news is, without any increase in their pay, as of January 1, 2015, they will earn less than the City of Philadelphia minimum wage of $12 an hour. The bad news is the majority of the employees are not eligible for major medical benefits under their union contract. What's the update? The membership staged a 2-week fast in June 2014 to call attention to the need for additional funding from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, all designed to keep order in our schools. Many council members, including myself, went to visit with them at their various locations. The cafeteria workers and student safety staff contract with the School District of Philadelphia expired on September 30th, 2013. After months of negotiations, the union and the district began conversations on the core economics. Despite the economic challenges facing its membership, Unite Here Local 634 is willing to provide savings of approximately $1 million to the school district over the next 2 years. I repeat, despite the economic challenges facing its membership, Unite Here Local 634 is willing to provide savings of approximately $1 million to the school district over the next 2 years. These savings could begin immediately, but must begin by September 2014, should have, in order for the school district to fully benefit. Mr. President, these men and women are those behind the scenes feeding our kids every day and keeping them safe. They seldom ask for the spotlight. They do not ask for awards. They just want to be paid a fair salary to support their families. As President Barack Obama said in his 2015 State of the Union address, quote, "If you truly believe you can work full-time and support a family on less than $15,000 per year, try it." In closing, Mr. President, I rise to urge the School District of Philadelphia to sit at the table with those workers and figure out how we reasonably compensate them appropriately for their work. Today, I rise to appeal to the School District of Philadelphia to search for and reach for a win-win, getting to yes solution for Unite Here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I want to also acknowledge the hard work of my colleague, Councilman Bill Greenlee, in getting the paid sick leave bill passed. It will surely go toward helping individuals who are low-income individuals who live in poverty to go to work and also have the opportunity to do their best job and put their best foot forward in their work environment. And I surely don't want anyone coughing under my food, so take your day off if you are sick. And so I do sincerely thank you for your efforts, because, you know, even as we move forward in this city, the issue of poverty is probably one of the major issues that isn't always talked about. And sometimes I think we get a little too cute when it comes to, well, not my Councilman Wilson Goode Jr., but, you know, we don't often focus on people who are living in poverty. And I think as we move forward, this body has put together a collective agenda to begin focusing on raising people out of poverty, bringing them into the middle class. And so I just want to acknowledge you for your efforts and tell you to keep up the good work. I just want to make an announcement about 2 events taking place in my district. One, this evening at Yesha Fellowship Hall, located at 23rd and Snyder Avenue. My good friend, State Representative Jordan Harris, will be hosting his annual Senior Citizen Sweetheart Ball. And so for all who are listening, we encourage them to come out to participate. They have their annual bop contest. And so that's always a fun experience, although I do not know how to bop. I got a mean 2-step, but nevertheless, having a good time with our seniors is really what it's all about. And so that'll be this evening, 5 p.m., Yesha Fellowship Hall, 23rd and Snyder Avenue. On Tuesday, February the 17th, I will be hosting my annual senior Valentine's Day resource fair and luncheon. It will take place at St. Richard's Senior Citizens Center located at 1826 Pollock Street from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, that's my annual St. Valentine's Day Senior Luncheon, which will take place at St. Richard's Senior Center located at 1826 Pollock Street. And that will take place on Tuesday, February the 17th. I hope everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Councilman, for that good information. There are no additional speeches. With that, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 19, 2015 at 9 a.m. 10 a.m., Mr. President.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. The council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 19, 2015. All those in favor, 10 a.m.? At least one give me aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you very much. Council is adjourned.